questions?
The questions?
The questions. We're supposed to be doing coffee and donuts today.
I know coffee and donuts with the,
With the mayoral candidates.
How many are there?
4.
Yeah, I wouldn't forget the questions.
You came empty-handed.
I did not. I got something in my hand. Pesto.
Okay.
Looky there. Ooh, questions.
Safekeeping.
Today on Coffee and Donuts with Tanie and Ellen,
Yes.
we're making a comeback.
Yes.
We have a good reason.
Right?
We are going to sit down with one of the mayoral candidates, Mr. Mike Absher.
Yes.
And we will be...
So, let's see what Mike has to say.
What do you like to go by? What do you like for people to call you right now?
Okay, so here's a real quick story. In kindergarten, my mom was sick, so I stayed with my grandmother. My family always called me Michael. I came back from the first, my grandmother kept me at that time, my mom was in the hospital. I came back from the first day of kindergarten with a sticker that said, "My name is Mike." She whited it out and sent me back the next day. It said, "His name is Michael." So everybody that knows me from my family knows me as Michael.
Okay.
Everybody that knew me from kindergarten on calls me Mike. So, most people call me Mike. Yes.
Okay, and having said all that, a lot of times people want to know the background of the candidate because it's difficult to be able to get to know someone, and you really do want to know. I feel like people connect more when they relate to the candidate. So one of the questions I have for you, are you a native Illinoisan?
Yes.
Or are you a transplant?
I'm native to here.
Okay, born and raised in Marion?
Technically born in Carbondale, but
Yeah.
went to high school here, went to college at Southern in Carbondale.
And so you would consider yourself vested in this community?
Very much so.
People really do want to know, your daily life. Do you eat supper at home? Or do you like to go out to dinner with your family? Or do you work so much you don't get to come home frequently? I mean, what's your days and nights look like?
My day starts off with dropping my youngest son off at the junior high, Marion Junior High School. I usually stop by the Ford dealership and say hi to those people in the morning, my friends and co-workers there. And there's usually a couple of times a week there's something to do in the school district that I participate in. I'm currently president of the school board, but my time on the school board ends in April regardless of this election. And I'm going to miss that incidentally a great deal. So there's usually some activities like that. Lately, the last 6 months has been a lot of campaign related stuff, as you can imagine.
Right.
So, but I don't have a day-to-day role any longer in the dealerships themselves. It's been essentially the general managers of the dealership have reported to me up until this point. So my role up until this point in the business has really never been totally day-to-day. It's been strategic. How to grow the business, whether you're looking at buying another business or disposing of one or what have you. So that's actually been more of my role. And then we consolidated all the dealership offices, so all the payroll and the accounting and the receivables, payables, warranty, all those kinds of things were all over the place at the different dealerships, and so that's what we did 3 years ago is we consolidated all those offices here, and I had a big role in that and getting that. But all that's behind us at this point, and I'm not seeking to grow the company really anymore at this point. So that leaves me open to being able to do this.
So all of those questions that we just drew out of the hat, we're going to go ahead and ask you now. Okay, so they're all at random too, so it's not the way you drew them out. We're just
I didn't read them, so I don't know what they are.
So how can you govern a city in a way that ensures people their freedoms, but we can still keep our city beautiful?
That's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when you ask that question is you have to be very open and conspicuous when you talk about the planning process. So one thing that we have probably not done as much as what, again, that I've seen in some other towns is we don't really have to my knowledge, we don't have an active municipal planning commission or a planning board. So there's, and we probably need to be. If there is one, maybe it's not active, maybe I don't know about it. But so as part of having that, there needs to be people in town that are part of that. It needs to be a continuous conversation.
People, you mean
Citizens,
people like us?
unelected
Right.
citizens,
Okay.
they need to have input on that and advise for example, so one of the things that they've done in Paducah is they will segregate some improvement funds by neighborhood. The neighborhood then makes a determination, like the block.
That's interesting.
They call it Love Your Block. That's actually a federal grant
That's cute.
program that's out there. So
That's interesting.
that's a good example of what I'm talking about. Each neighborhood should have some unique characteristic to it, and maybe that neighborhood decides that they have an empty lot and they want a nice bird fountain, for example, and that's what they choose to improve theirs with. Another one might decide that everybody needs to have, I don't know, think of a silly example, similar mailboxes or something that you
Right.
can make it
That would make
consistent with.
sense, and then it's based on the neighborhood itself and
Right,
the people
so-
that are living there.
My approach would be kind of granular like that, is you literally move from neighborhood to neighborhood and try to empower the people that live there to make suggestions about what makes their street unique, what makes their neighborhood the best one to move to, what they would like to see. And then they literally have a vested interest in seeing that through.
One of the things that Ellen and I notice, being that we're downtown all the time, we get a lot of people who come in that are a lot less fortunate than we
Of
are.
course.
And we truly believe that given the opportunity, they probably would not live in the life conditions that they're in. One of those problems stems from the drug problem that we have in our community. It's something that is taboo and people don't want to talk about, but drugs affect the wealthy
No doubt.
and the middle class
Every street.
and the impoverished.
Every street.
And so, do you have any ideas on how that, because I believe if we're able to get to the heart of the matter on some of those addictions with some of the people in our community, that we may begin to really see a change given that chance to clean up their areas or their neighborhoods. And I also believe in rolling our sleeves up. What kind of things and ideas do you have for?
So you've touched on some of them already. Actually, in your question is several of the answers. One, it can't be taboo. You've got to talk about it. It's got to be out in the open. We have to admit that we've got them here. I don't think we have a bigger or lesser problem than anybody else, but
Right.
to ignore it as citizens, and I'm not saying the city ignores it, I'm saying if we don't admit
Right.
that, look, this exists everywhere, and it's destructive. It literally is tearing, it always did, but it's even more so now because it's not just, we have this, or I used to myself have this picture of somebody in the kind of like Breaking Bad,
Right.
in a,
Yeah, exactly.
in a van
Right, like-
with smoke steaming out
Exactly.
of it. That's not really what's going on
No.
so much anymore. You've got prescription drugs that are being dealt
Yes.
and stolen,
Right.
and misused or abused. Everything from that to you got prescriptions themselves, which is of course a national epidemic that are being overprescribed and used. And then you've got the traditional, the heroin, the meth. Meth's actually making a comeback, unfortunately. But we first have to recognize that it's here. Second of all, we have to educate about it. For example, one of the most eye-opening things that happened, which I applaud, was we had an open house at the junior high when my kids started in 6th grade there. And the police came and had a whole room displayed of drug paraphernalia that they had confiscated. And I will tell you the honest truth, we didn't recognize what this stuff was. I'm not sure if we would have seen it in a seat or something,
Right.
if it would have actually clicked.
Right.
I would now.
Right.
So the point is, there is an educational component to this. What does a drug
Right.
den, if you will,
Mhm.
what does this look like? How can you recognize it? Because if the reality is that people have to report this stuff that's going on for the police to be able to do anything about it.
Exactly.
We
Right.
do not have enough police officers in this town that can literally watch every doorstep to see what's going on. It's
Right.
just not reality.
It's no secret we have a long-standing elected mayor for the city of Marion, that we've had one. So, If elected, would you plan to seek re-election in the future? And if so, what do you think is a realistic number of years to serve as mayor?
So I've been asked that question before. I don't know that I have a good answer for it. There was a time, certainly a time I never thought I'd run for the school board. I couldn't have imagined it. There was a time not that long ago, although I've considered running for mayor for quite a while, that as an adult, there was a time when I would have looked at somebody with side eye. What the heck are you talking about?
Right, yeah.
So it's hard for me, looking
So
back.
it's not just a bucket list for you?
No.
I'm just
right.
No. But
Mayor,
let me
check.
give you,
Right.
Here's the thing. And this is, of course, all kinds of caveats, and this would apply to any candidate. You know, all of us have families, we have kids, we've got struggles with all kinds of stuff, health, all that stuff can
Right.
affect it. But let's just say all that stuff works out. One, I'm not looking for a statue. I'll put it to you that way. But I'm 48 years old, so could I see myself doing this for 8 or 12 years? Probably. And beyond that, I can't project what I'm going to be like when I'm 60 years old.
Yeah.
I just don't have an idea.
I think that's a good answer though,
Thanks,
because
Absher.
you need to be able to be in long enough to make changes and see it through.
Right.
I mean, we know that these things aren't going to happen next week or the week after kind of
And
thing.
a lot of these things I'm talking about, coincidentally enough, it doesn't coincide with 12 years, but it probably takes about 10. A lot of this stuff,
So-
you can't afford to do it all at once. You
Right.
have to
It's
have
not
a measured
happen
approach.
overnight.
Right.
And so I'm kind of one of those people, I really do like to see something finished.
To see it through. I mean, you've started
And that's
it.
what
So.
would make me want to be reelected, not for the power
Right.
or the whatever. It's just because I wouldn't feel like I was done
Right.
with what I started.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Next. Answer the following. Why Marion?
No other context than why Marion?
Nope, that's it. You could take it any direction you want.
Well, my mind goes to, so here's what I pictured in my head. I pictured being in front of a big company or even a small company, somebody I'm trying to sell on Marion. That's what I pictured. So what I would say is, and I believe these things to my core, Marion is located in the center of some of the most beautiful natural resources in the country, in my opinion.
Yes.
Absolutely so in the state of Illinois and in
Right.
the Midwest.
Definitely.
We have things that literally we take for granted. I
Yeah.
do, having
Right.
lived here my
'Cause
whole life.
yeah,
You
we're here
haven't
every
lived
day.
I know we
Right.
are in the middle of a national forest.
Right.
So, we've got that, you've got Garden of Gods, you've got Fern Cliff for that matter. That's a wonderful place,
Right,
and it's
definitely.
literally you can throw a rock from city limits and get there.
Exactly.
So the hunting, the fishing, the outdoor life that's available here is, in my mind, second to none. Now, you combine that with what I believe Marion specifically has is literally a crossroads for transportation, for recreation, for cultural opportunities, for housing opportunities. There's medical care here, and there's great schools here.
Right.
These are all the core elements that anybody, any company big and small, and frankly anyone that would be looking for a community, those are the check boxes. Those are the things they're going to talk about.
Right.
We can confidently check every one of those off for people. And my next statement would be, follow me. I want to show you
Right.
these things. My last
That's
thing
great.
to why Marion would be is that by the grace of God and the help of a whole lot of other people, all of which came from here too, I've been very successful here. You cannot convince me that you cannot be successful in business here.
I think that's
I've
great.
done that. It can be done.
Right.
It is being done, and I'm not the only example of that. So I would be the biggest cheerleader, in my opinion, for Marion because I believe those things.
How do we get our community that excited about
Right.
being from Southern Illinois again?
Well, it's kind of like you talk about, of all things, we started with the drug thing. Part of it is they need to hear somebody, maybe it's me, maybe it's other people like me, saying, you know what? Look at all the good things that is going on.
That's it.
Because
Yeah.
we keep concentrating on this, well, we're inferior,
Yes.
we're never going anywhere, we're impoverished.
Yes.
Well, then let's improve those things.
Right.
Here's how we would go about doing that. Part of it just has to do with state of mind.
Yes.
It really does.
The great thing with that question and kind of what we were looking for was to convey to the residents your idea of us already. Like, you know, there's already so many great things here. And so, yeah, change needs to be made in order to grow. But we've got great things that we can capitalize on. And so I think that's huge to have that kind of vantage point.
And so, I guess I can just go with it here.
Yeah.
Another question on top of that question is, you know, we are in the center point. If you go south, you've got to go to pretty much Nashville or further. And if you go north or west, you're going to go to St. Louis. That's a pretty good distance there for, you know, things to do, big things to do. So obviously there's something missing here. There's something missing. What is missing that will get the people to pull off the interstate and not just go to the bathroom and fill up with gas?
I thought you were going to work in your slogan.
Oh, well, I mean
that's it. Well, listen to this.
So, you know,
that's why I was on the edge of my seat because I knew it was coming. It's great.
I have family from, you know, the South, so Mississippi, and then we have Texas. But people always say to people in Southern Illinois, "You're from Illinois? You don't sound like you're from Illinois." But I feel like, you know, we are, you know, right in the middle, like you were saying. In Southern Illinois, the best of both worlds, where the North and the South come together.
See?
But so what's missing? You asked me, that was the question.
You know, we want people to pull off the interstate and not fill up for gas and use the restroom and get back on. What can we do to get them to stop?
Okay, that's a great question. It's central to my economic ideas. So here's my perception, my perspective. Think about, and I use a cooking analogy. All those things I ticked off, interstates, access to transportation, that's a better way of doing it, because it's not just interstates. We've got rail hubs here, we've got an airport. Those are two critical parts of the whole transportation question. I typically just say interstates, but that's shortchanging it. Recreation, culture, affordable housing, medical care, and good schools. Those are the tick points. We've got all the ingredients. We know what the cake needs to look like. We need yeast. Somebody's got to bake the cake. The flashpoint for us, in my humble opinion, and this is why I am so dogged, and I'm taking some flack for this, but I'm dogged on the mall being redeveloped as something else. Businesses fail for a number of reasons, and I can think of four major ones. Mismanagement, a change in the market, lack of capital, or location. The mall has failed really for combinations, in my opinion, three of those four things. Location is not the failure.
Right.
It's got a great location. Central to what you said is, how do we get people off that interstate? What I'm envisioning out there is a flashpoint, a yeast for our economic development. We live off of sales tax here. That is what our strength has been. Unfortunately, the mall has slidden us backwards, and we haven't slid backwards overall, but the mall has not helped. So I believe that not only can it get back the sales tax revenue, and let's just be honest about it, sales tax revenue when people are stopping off the interstate that pays for our city services is paid by somebody else, not us.
Right, yeah.
And bring us all the sales tax.
Exactly.
If you look at that just as a business problem, a business equation, we should be doing everything possible to see that could explode with activity, because what downtown is not going to get is people off the interstate more than likely. That's probably going to be for us.
We're not going to get people spending the night.
Right. There, I think you do have that possibility. Right now, it's kind of hidden and tucked down behind that overpass, and we have no signage that talks about that. I mean, obviously, there's nothing to direct them to right now. But you don't pass off the interstate and even know that there's a Dillard's or there's a Target. But yet I have 6 employees from one of my Paducah locations every Saturday come to Target because they don't have one at Paducah.
Right.
They know it. How come we're not doing a better job telling everybody else they know it? So what I've proposed out there at the mall is simply just thought starters, again, so that we can start having that conversation. But it needs to be developed into a destination type development. That's the yeast that bakes the cake.
I think if people had gotten that whole picture of needing that flashpoint to get them off of the interstate, I think you may not be taking as much flack for that. Don't you think?
I think that it's pivotal that you say that it's a conversation starter. It gets the ideas flowing, and then people start talking about the potential.
Yes.
And we have potential.
Right.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to repeat, we are at a crucial moment in our history.
Yes.
We can either put our stamp on this and, you know, leave a legacy like they did when they developed the town, or we could go completely bust.
Right.
Sit here for
If
a
you
second.
received $1 million grant
Oh, yeah.
to be used for anything in the city, what would you do with it and why?
Oh, wow.
Nothing like putting you in the hot seat.
I'm going to tear into this donut.
I was
He's
wondering.
talking.
I've almost eaten all mine.
I think what I would want to explore is using that to kickstart some sort of a vocational training endeavor. So we do a really, gosh, I'm going to get slammed for saying this.
Uh-oh.
Public education does a really poor job of holding up some of the trade jobs that are available out there as real alternatives for people.
I mean, I don't think that's an inaccurate statement.
So that's something else that has to be improved. Public education just really isn't geared for that so much. And I'm very proud of what we have in this school district as our vocational offerings, but I think there's something more, and I think it probably has to be outside of K through 12, simply because there's not going to be, we don't have the resources to do everything for everybody, obviously, and we've got to stay true to teaching math and reading and all these things. But so here's the thing. Southern Illinois, you talk about our natural resources. Another natural resource I believe Southern Illinois has is we've got a competent workforce. We aren't training them to meet their
Right.
potential.
They're
It's kind of
underutilized.
it's kind of a seesaw. We don't have the industry that can utilize them, but we also don't have the workforce that could supply industry. Companies that want to come here require a supply chain of workers.
Yeah,
And
makes
that's
sense.
so
It does make
it's always a
sense.
chicken and egg argument, but that's one thing we could capitalize on. If we had $1 million grant, we could probably use 10 million on it. But one of the things we need to do to keep kids here and to keep them aware that there are, I mean, if your dishwasher breaks in the middle of the night and it's spilling water all over everything, you're going to call me? No.
Right.
You're going to call the guy and pay him $80 or $120 an hour
Yeah,
to come fix it
emergency.
because
Right,
that's what
definitely.
happens. Those are viable, real world jobs that are available, and if you talk to the people that own companies like that, they cannot find the people to fill them because there aren't people that are willing to
Because
get
I haven't
trained
been taught.
to do
Right.
it.
And you know, and we live in a different time where people do go to school through 12th grade,
Mhm.
and then they either continue their education or enter the workforce in some way. But you know, historically, you were trained by someone to do a trade, or you were a
Right.
farmer, or
Right.
obviously we don't live in those days now. But those things still need to be done. There's still a need for those.
But it's actually one step further than that. We have to somehow hold these up as viable careers for people. There's a saying, and it's one of my favorite sayings, I'm going to butcher it, but it says something like, it's old, it's like Aristotle or somebody says, the society that values philosophy because it's a learned high profession and disdains plumbing because it's a lowly profession will neither have good pipes or good philosophy because neither's going to hold water.
Yeah, it's great.
The point is that we need for all of this to work, the whole town. I mean, we've got to have all the tradespeople. We're not doing a great job of even holding those up as viable career options for kids sometimes. So I don't know.
Okay.
So you've survived 4 questions. So here's
So
your
far.
5th. So what steps do you think we can take as a city to ensure we are a destination to travel to and not one we travel from?
Oh, that's a great question. The steps are planning, obviously. You've got to come up with something. Execution, obviously. But then there's something else. We have to get better at marketing. So
I agree.
we probably need some resources at City Hall that we haven't had in a long time, but have had in the past, and that has to do with economic development, it has to do with municipal planning, it has to do with marketing. Those are core business functions. If you're running a business, I think the city is very much like a business in this regard, and so the next steps would be, you can't just put video, and I hope this isn't, I'm not throwing darts at anyone specifically, but your whole marketing can't just be posting videos on YouTube.
Right.
somebody has to figure out how to get to
I mean,
those
it
videos.
is ours, but you know.
From a city
No,
standpoint.
I know.
But you promote
I
it,
know.
okay?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that so there are conferences, there
You
are
need-
exhibits,
yeah.
there are places
You
that we
need
can go.
competent people that are versed in city showcasing.
Yes. I made a statement in my announcement speech that actually speaks to this. And I think I would be pretty good about this personally, or working with somebody else if they're going to do it. I said, we need to reach out to entrepreneurs where they are instead of waiting on them to come to
Yes,
us.
I think that's a great thing.
That's the step that we need to do. That starts something. That's a
Well,
yeast
and you
flashpoint.
touched on it earlier when you were talking about not just Marion, but Southern Illinois as a whole. And we need to capitalize on how awesome we are. You know, when I tell people, my friends back in Texas, that we're between two rivers, it's literally like a rainforest. I mean, it's pretty awesome. We don't utilize those things, and those in itself, especially with people being so athletic and active these days, it's a draw. We have, my cousin owns Mermet Springs, and it's a diving destination,
Right.
and
And
it's
there's
shocking
so
to
many
know that
people
there's so
that-
many people that
yeah.
come from all over the world to go there.
Yes.
But
And how many people don't even
how
know
many
we
people
have
have
it?
ever heard of it?
How many people in Marion, Illinois do you think have never been to Fern Cliff? How many people in Marion, Illinois do you think haven't been to Trail of Tears or to, the Touch of Nature or Garden of the
Or
Gods?
how about even the Williamson County Historical
Yeah.
Building? Have you heard the square? That place is
I know
amazing.
that it is.
Sure is.
Would you rather have everything on your cell phone right now, browsing history, photos, etc., be made public for anyone who searches your name on Google, or never use a cell phone again?
I'd rather have it made public.
Okay.
So, would you rather be? I should have had you ask this one.
Okay.
Would you rather be forced to dance every time you heard music, or sing along with every song you heard?
Sing along.
You two are in good company.
Would you rather lose all of your money and valuables, or all of the pictures you have ever taken?
Money and valuables.
Would you rather be able to see 10 minutes into your own future, or 10 minutes into the future of someone else?
Where do you guys come up with this? You
It's
Googled
what,
it.
This is what we-
You
it's,
Googled
this is
it.
what we do
This
with
is
the
what
merch.
we do for fun.
Yeah, this is what we do.
Well, so neither actually, but I guess
had a
mine.
really good one, and she wouldn't let me ask it.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
ask it.
No,
Yeah.
I can't.
I think I would rather.
We'll ask it after we shut the camera off.
So I wouldn't like either one, but I think I'd rather have my own because I think I would feel terribly guilty about being responsible for somebody else's and not being able to, do I tell
I can
them?
see
Do I
that.
not tell them? What do I, have all that conflict? If it's only my own future,
Right.
then maybe it's not so much of a conflict.
We solve our conflicts by using FAO Schwartz remote controlled bumper cars.
Yes. Have you ever had those? You have to come back for a bumper car race.
I was thinking it was cat fights, but I was
No.
waiting.
Yeah, no.
No, we've matured.
Yeah, we've grown up a little bit. Ellen still has her hair.
This is your.
Would you rather
Mm-hmm.
drive a monster truck everywhere you go, or a golf cart?
Monster.
Everywhere you go.
That's a no-brainer.
No brainer.
That's funny.
Okay.
All right.
All right. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Texting or talking?
Texting.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Say a word in Spanish.
Bienvenido.
Do you believe in fate?
Yes.
What's your favorite number?
11.
Oh, I like that number too.
My birthday's November 11th. It's 11/11.
Who has it easier, men or women?
Yeah.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Was that a no?
That was a no.
Okay.
Last one.
Oh, is double dipping at a party ever acceptable? I mean, do you ever, when you're sitting down and eating dinner with somebody, you ever just, at the restaurant, they have something kind of
Mm-hmm.
attractive on the plate, and you just are like,
I steal stuff off my wife's plate and things like that, but if it's a public thing, no, it's not acceptable.
Well, we appreciate you stopping
We
by.
do.
To see us
We're
here
so glad that you came to
much.
see
I
us.
mean, this has been fun. Sorry, I've embarrassed you completely to death.
So
That's not too bad.
your coffee mug, that's for you to take.
That's a souvenir.
So you
Dirty.
can, I know, you get to wash it. So anyway, thanks for the donuts. Thanks for stopping by.
On Coffee and Donuts with Tanie and Ellen.
We're going to be sitting down with mayoral candidate Dennis Ball.